It is October 1347. You are standing on the docks of Messina, Sicily. A fleet of 12 Genoese trading ships has just drifted into the harbor. But there is no shouting. There are no merchants unloading cargo. There is only an eerie, heavy silence and a smell that makes your stomach turn. When the port authorities finally board the vessels, they find the decks littered with the dead. The few sailors still breathing are covered in strange black boils that ooze blood and pus. They order the ships out of the harbor immediately, but it is already too late. The ropes have touched the docks, the cargo has been moved, the invisible passengers have disembarked. Within days, your neighbors will start coughing. Within weeks, half your city will be dead. If you were alive in the year 1347, as the deadliest pandemic in human history swept across the world, could you have survived? To answer that, we have to put you directly in the path of the Black Death. Let us imagine you wake up one morning with a slight fever. You feel a deep, aching chill in your bones. At first, you might think it is just a common cold, but then you feel it. A painful, swollen lump in your armpit, or perhaps on your neck. This is the bubo. It is the signature of the bubonic plague, and it means the bacterium, Yersinia pestis, has entered your lymphatic system. Your odds of survival just dropped to 20%. So, what do? Your first instinct might be to call for a doctor, but in the 14th century, that is a fatal mistake. Your local physician arrives wearing a leather gown, smelling strongly of crushed flowers and vinegar. He believes the disease is caused by miasma, bad air. To cure you, he decides to balance your bodily humors. He takes a blade and slices into your veins, draining your already weakened body of a pint of blood. When that fails, he might apply a paste of chopped snakes and pigeon blood to your sores. These treatments do not help you. They only introduce new infections. If you want to survive, you cannot rely on medieval medicine. You need a new strategy. What if you just ran away? If you are a wealthy nobleman, this is your best option. You pack your gold, abandon your estate, and ride deep into the remote countryside. You lock the doors of your summer villa and refuse to let anyone inside. This actually worked. Many aristocrats survived simply by outrunning the dense, infected populations of the cities. But what if you are a peasant? You do not have a summer villa. You are trapped in a cramped, dark hovel with your family. Your animals sleep in the same room. The streets outside are filled with human waste. For centuries, historians believed your fate was sealed by rats, specifically, black rats carrying infected fleas. However, recent archaeological evidence and computer modeling have revealed a terrifying twist. The rats were not enough to spread the plague this fast. The real culprit was you, or rather, the human fleas and body lice living in the clothing of almost every medieval person. Once the plague reached a critical mass, it did not need rats anymore. It jumped from human to human, hiding in the seams of wool tunics and unwashed bedsheets. If you are trapped in the city, your only hope is isolation. Some cities figured this out. The port of Ragusa, now modern-day Dubrovnik, passed a radical new law. All incoming sailors had to stay on their ships for 30 days. Later, they extended it to 40 days. In Italian, the word for 40 is quaranta. This is where we get the word quarantine. If you lived in a city that locked its gates early, you might just live to see the next spring. Yet, the biggest mystery of the Black Death was still unfolding in the streets. In the same house, a husband might die in agony, while his wife never developed a single symptom. A gravedigger could spend weeks handling infected bodies, yet remain perfectly healthy. Why? The answer was hidden deep inside their DNA. Modern geneticists have discovered a mutation known as Delta 32. This genetic quirk alters the receptors on the outside of white blood cells, making it incredibly difficult for certain bacteria and viruses to enter. If you inherited this mutation from your ancestors, you had a natural armor against the plague. You could walk through a city of the dead and remain completely untouched. But if you did not have this mutation, and you could not flee, you relied entirely on luck. By the year 1351, the plague finally began to burn itself out. The bacteria ran out of vulnerable victims. When the ashes settled, the world was forever changed. Between 30 and 50% of Europe's population was gone. The Middle East and North Africa suffered equally devastating losses. If you were one of the lucky ones who survived, you stepped out into a very different reality. The air was quiet. Entire villages were abandoned, returning to the forest. But something remarkable happened next. Because so many workers had died, your labor was suddenly incredibly valuable. For the first time in history, peasants could demand higher wages. They could afford better food, better clothing, and more land. The rigid feudal system began to crack. The sheer scale of death shattered the absolute authority of the church, paving the way for scientific inquiry. The Black Death was a nightmare of unimaginable proportions. It brought humanity to the edge of the abyss, but it also planted the seeds of the Renaissance. Could you have survived it? Without wealth, without isolation, and without the genetic lottery, the odds were stacked entirely against you. Yet humanity did survive. We adapted, we learned. And the descendants of those who lived through the darkest years in history went on to build the modern world.